Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion for COGS. With us, we have an advocate and leader for the Global South Corporation, Mr. Abdul Dewale Mohammed. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mohammed is the founder and executive president for both the Africa Asia Scholars Global Network and the Global South Economic Forum. And he has worked to bridge the gap between the Asia and Africa for the intellectual cooperation, for scholars, policymakers, business leaders to collaborate and share knowledge and drive sustainable growth. Let's start with today's discussion, sir. Sir, as you mentioned that Africa is very resource rich, and why do you think the African universities lack in global competitiveness despite of having such immense talent? And like, what could be done to unleash their full potential?
Well, universities, you said, universities normally are those that produce the workforce. Universities are relied on as the powerhouse. And the universities are relied on developing policies that are effective and sustainable. But however, generally, most universities, you probably say, most universities are not very creative, not very enterprising, and that's why things, you realize that from my own experience, it's like I said in universities, 15% of our university lecturers are mostly very, very creative, and most of them become consultants outside the university. So you don't expect much from them because they are out there to give services outside the university. Another 15%, really they're envy of those who have connections, the 15%. So they don't have the connection that those ones have to be consultants, and then you have not less than 50% of our university lecturers are waiting for retirement. So how much do you expect of them to? So universities, things are changing completely because even these days, what does a professor want to teach a student that you can't find on the internet? So a lot is changing, and now that we even have, which is a open university where people can learn through internet, their computer, laptop, they can learn and graduate, But I think the system of even these days now, you don't even have to have a certificate before you can graduate, whatever. It's about skill. What are experiences that you have? So education is changing, and but one of the great things which I think we're trying to do, or some of the mission objectives we want even the West to learn from the South. We want to ensure that we improve or enhance area of morality, which is very important. Because what's the point of being highly educated but you lost your morals? Like I always said, what is it to gain, to lose your soul and gain the whole world? So on the level of education, we're glad, and one of the things there which we felt we should do, which we've started on 2015, I think the idea all started in Thailand, and it was the National University of Asia Pacific, and I proposed that we should try and bring all universities in developing countries together. And they all supported it. And then I think I got in touch to the then Secretary General of the Association of Arab Universities. He actually welcomed the idea and said they were willing to give us as much support as possible. Then we also have the then Secretary General of the Association of African Universities also supported it. And so, however, when we saw that all the university associations in developing countries, as we also already reaching out to Latin America and the Caribbean, are willing for that sort of, because there is no synergy, no collaboration between universities developing in one structure. They are members of international universities, but they are not, there's no structure within developing countries. And that's where we come in to create that. And over the last 8 years, we've done a lot of research on what value can we bring to university development countries so that we can close the gap, which is always getting widened all the time. So things are going to change now, because that's why we said that when we launched the GSU, the Global South University Association, And then also we've been working on the issue of some of the professional bodies. So that through the professional bodies, we talk about engineers rather. We talk about those on solar energy. We talk about farmers. We talk about architects. We talk about also people who are in the businesses, general commerce industries. So all this time we're creating a synergy, we're creating a structure for them, and we hope that by 18th of July at the House of Lords in London, we'll be able to launch them along with the Global South Association so that they can always work together to develop curriculum that can fit into the workforce in developing countries. So it's going to be a long, that's why I said we've taken 14 years, building the Africa Asia Scholars and then building the Global South Economic Forum. And probably we'll ask why Global South Economic Forum when we have what is called the World Economic Forum. Well, we had to create it because in 2018, in January 2018 in Switzerland, I think it was the 48th conference of the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. And that conference was the first time it was co-chaired by women. And we felt that that was important to meet with the UN Women because that is the body that represents women globally in terms, within the United Nations. So but before then, I think the conference was about the fractured world. And I also commend the World Economic Forum then for being very bold. It's the G77, which is about 130 something countries. And in the UN, they can influence policies within the United Nations. They can influence. They are representative of different countries, and they are there. There's no engagement with the civil society. And at the end of the day, people talk about UN for developing countries when we have the largest group there. So we're hoping to work closely with them. Similarly, the South Center, which is based in Switzerland, we hope they'll be doing more work around developing countries rather than there in Switzerland. And then also with other countries that have empathy or sympathize with the situation in developing countries. So the Global South, it's the largest group. We are about 80% of the population in the world, but we're the most disadvantaged. That shouldn't be. We have higher resources in the world, so gradually things are going to change with time.
So continuing on this, why do you think the multinational corporations have historically neglected Africa, and what has been done in the recent years to shift this trend?
I wouldn't say they neglect or like I just said earlier in my speech, I just said that nobody's Father Christmas, so why should I not exploit you if I come to your country or I have to, everybody wants something. So, but the point, like I said, so that's why I don't do any blame game anymore. Mine is that it's just about building relationship. It's very important. There's so much I have in developed countries. There are experts who are, if you look at even America, you find that even, let me use the example of Nigeria where I come from. Nigerians, you find that Nigerians are more educated than even the normal Americans. So, and even the salary, the what do you call it, the wages are much more at way, even some Americans. So it's not about the fact that it's just that there is a system, and it's going to take a while, I know, but there's still an influence from the leadership of the West into developing countries. That's basic, is there, but that doesn't mean that you cannot get yourself out of that doldrum. And after all, you can see a good example from Rwanda, the president of Rwanda, Kagame, the president of Rwanda, who people could believe that even though he's still in power, but is doing tremendously well to be a shining light in Africa. So, and there's still quite a few of them that are trying to change the narratives. So the point is that the African Union itself, a lot still needs to be done there. So, but like I said, the system has been bad, because if I can talk about the way you make children to compete as children and they grow up to compete, it's very hard to see harmonization among human beings. So the point is about issue of the kind of education we have. I always say, you have education, you have, what will I call it, you have some knowledge, but we lack wisdom in our education, lack of wisdom. So if you have wisdom, is knowing, first of all, know who you are, know your existence, know your person, and that will help you in your growth. But when you don't even understand yourself, how can you understand society? So these are basic so we have to define what is really education. And like I said, even with artificial intelligence now coming in, I smile when Elon Musk said that he's going to produce in robotics now that's going to cost about 5,000, 10,000 pounds. So robots going to be everywhere. So when it's far less than a car. So the issue there is that now is our being creative. Because you used to say when you say think inside the box, think inside the box. So we always say to myself, I said, let's just say there is no box at all, because we don't believe there's any box. So you have to be very creative, you are very innovative. So you need people. We know that there's a competitive society, which shouldn't be. We should be working together. I need to know what are your potentials, and then I need to know what are my deficiencies, where do I lack. Then if we work together, there's so much for everybody. I always said it that this war lacks nothing. The problem is just cooperation. If we cooperate with each other, there's so much for everybody. I just pray that this air we breathe one day is not going to have to be shared. Then we know what it is to really survive. So we believe that, and talking about women, I want to use this opportunity to also say that women should have to look at the potential they have, and men should, well, I can tell you men do know what the potential they have, but it's just that they need to use this more. And we actually, I think we sent a proposal to the US General, and I think there's one which also did for women, so that they can look holistically about the concerns about the fractured world, which we all know we are. And because at the end of the day, even though when the World Economic Forum said it in 2018, I still don't see anyone coming forward and say, this is how we're going to address it. But most importantly is the concern now that we've only scored about 15% of the SDGs. And so what happens in 2030? So we will continue to hammer it that we need to work strongly on partnership. We need to work more on creating more inclusive and diverse policies, because we're only creating policies that are just for few people, and we need to really change that mindset and create something that will really reach a larger number of people. And now that we now see that you don't have to be a professor to be able to contribute to the society through your skills, that itself an area where young people, we have to understand the skills of young people and help them on those bases so that they can create more into the economy of society. So at the moment now, by and large, even one of the things I also said in the university is that there's a lot of competition now. There's a lot of challenges for universities now, based on the fact that education is no longer expensive, because we have buildings. You don't need buildings anymore. So end of the day, online you can, graduate online. You can go skills. It's not about certificate anymore. It's how creative and innovative you are. So there are a lot of challenges for universities, but we are working hard to ensure. That's why we create the research center, so that we can look at more what values we can add to the various universities that we have. Particularly what are the problems and concerns. I give you one little one which I tell university students. I said, look, go to your community, find out the problems in that community, what are the needs of that community, interview people living in that community, then go back to your university in groups. Think, how can you better? If you look at some certain little things that we use these days that have been produced by some people who are very innovative and creative, it could be a small sponge. That sponge, which probably the water might not, what would I call it, maybe drop, or it can contain a lot of water so that much is not dropping or a lot drops. Some do probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years of research. And when they're done, they go to the bank and sell what they got. So they enrich themselves by being creative, being innovative. So let the young people go into the community, find out the problems, come back, and then come look for solutions. And we are saying, send us your solutions, we will find funding for you. Because most of the industries, they're looking for ideas. They're looking for it. And so it's easier. And when you're younger, you're more likely to be more creative. innovative and whatever, because the person who is elderly, he has other concerns that they have to look after. So, but younger people, there's less. So there are a lot of things that we're working on, and we just pray and hope that we get more people, so that when people like us, some of us who are elders, we're no longer there, they can continue the process. That's the prayer we have.
Thank you so much, sir,
Most
for your
welcome.
deep insights.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.